And we're live, and we got 45 seconds to go.
Hey, Facebook folks, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. We're about 30 seconds away from going live on radio, so I'll be back with you in just a moment here. Just taking a few notes here. Oh boy. Thursday. Hope everything's going good with you and your families and you're not stuck in all this crazy weather.
10 seconds.
Going around the country. All right, we're about ready to go live. From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thanks Almighty! We are free at
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. As always, I'm old Alan Autry, and as always, I am so honored and humbled to have you with us today. Thank you for tuning in on radio here at KXEX 1550 in my beloved San Joaquin Valley, Fresno, Clovis, and really today's technology around the world. Go on the old computer and go to the website here and listen to the live broadcast anywhere in the world, which is still amazing to me. We were going to do a little sports-only show today, but I have to call it audible at the line of scrimmage. I used to do that, for a living. Didn't do it very good with the Packers because the NFL stood for not for long when I got cut and made an actor out of me. Those NFL defenses. He had to hurry. But Matt was going to be able to join us, but he just got swamped this morning. In fact, he's going to have his own show here, KXEX, pretty soon. We don't have a launch date yet, but I tell you, for a young man, 22 years old, this guy, as they say, has his head screwed on right, has his heart in the right place, and is really, I think, exemplifies the best in America. And you're going to be able to hear him in terms of, well, everybody in general, but in particular young people. You know, old dudes like me, we worry about the next generation coming up because of all the things going on in the world and the direction so many young people seem to be going, which looks so often like un-American in some ways. Questioning, it's all right to question things. That's what we're taught in school. My generation was to, question power, and that's good. But looking at everything and being closed-minded and taking one political attitude, and that being that somehow free market systems and freedoms are bad and Marxism and autocracies are good, is something that's very dangerous for the future of this country. And a lot of the young people seem to be tempted towards that, but not Matt White and not the folks at Turning Point. He's a member of Charlie Kirk, who's also on this network, started that Turning Point organization, focusing mainly on young people as a number one is a faith-based organization, getting your heart right before you can get your head right and get your attitudes right and get your beliefs right. You got to have your heart right. And that's something that Turning Point does very well. And so we encourage them, and keep your eye out and ears out for Matt's show. Having said that, we will touch on one sports story, because there's a scenario that could unfold during the Chargers-Raiders game, which has been billed as a win you're in, lose you're out deal. But there's an aspect of it that if this particular scenario occurs, well, we've never seen anything like it, playoff picture. So I'm going to tease that a little bit, and we'll get to it hopefully before the end of the show. If not, we'll discuss it on Free for All Friday tomorrow. But I got to clear something up and make myself perfectly clear here on Resurrection Day. Well, that's Easter, isn't it? Jose, how did I confuse Insurrection Day with Resurrection Day? How dare me? That's blasphemy, man. Lord, I'm so sorry, Lord. I'm an old man. You let me live this long, Lord, okay? You knew what was coming. Oh, man, God's got a sense of humor. Let me live to be 69 and on. Insurrection Day, as it's being billed by our woke far left brethren. And I'm looking up here at these nice monitors that Jose has put up. And I love this, Jose, by the way. It's all lit up in here, man. I can look up as we're talking here live. If, something I have some notes that things I want to talk about, and that sort of thing. The old saying is, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And I believe that. You gotta know what you're going to be talking about without being too scripted. But you look up and you got these monitors, and if something breaks, I can share it with you all. But what's happening right now on Insurrection Day, and I'm not belittling what happened on that day. Trust me, I'm not. But I think Jose turned the camera there for our Facebook folks, I believe. They're getting a view of a stream, a constant stream of Democrats taking the podium and lamenting this day of infamy, which will live forever in the annals of American history as the darkest day America's ever experienced, along with, believe it or not, Ted Cruz, who classified what happened and described what happened on January 6th as a terrorist attack. Now let that sink in for a little bit. A terrorist attack. In other words, you're going to lump what happened on January 6th, which I have privately, publicly, anywhere the subject comes up, I have condemned what I call the stupid knuckleheads. As Forrest Gump's mama said, what stupid is what stupid does, and what stupid did on January 6th would decide to take a peaceful protest, a very passionate protest with thousands of people, which could have sent a great statement to all the world about freedom in America and being able to express your belief regardless of whether it was popular or not. And taking it a step further, whether it was true or not. You got a right to protest in this country, and you got a right to get together and protest with a lot of people. Black Lives Matter does it all the time. But what happened is the knucklehead factor, like the knucklehead factor in BLM and other organizations that do protest and have numbers out there, meaning thousands, the knuckleheads decided they were going to go into the Capitol. They went into the Capitol. Police were there. You've seen it. It was deemed and written about and described through the social media, the left-leaning media, which is pretty much every media except Fox News and Newsmax and that group, but was described as an armed insurrection in which 6 people lost their lives to this insurrection and at the hands of the insurrectionists. Right off the bat, that's false. Number one, no gun was ever confiscated or ever used by these knuckleheads, by these stupid knuckleheads that went in there. What you saw was a lot of old dudes like me, men and women, taking selfies inside the Capitol, making a further fool of themselves. As a guy in a Viking outfit with horns, who obviously should be, have steady meetings with Dr. Phil, not be at the Capitol. But he's in there sitting in the speaker's chair, with his spear. You saw some people doing some hand-to-hand scuffling with the police. Nothing to the extent that you would have saw during the Summer of Love, where police were pelted with frozen water bottles, Louisville sluggers, Molotov cocktails, and of which 2,000 police officers were injured, 20-some killed. You didn't see that. That was an armed attack. And so it's left with, we throw around this word terrorists. You know, after 9/11, we all should have been very careful of who we label terrorists, because it's just like the word racism. If you use it and misuse it too much where it doesn't apply, it loses its effect. And you don't want to ever have racism and a racist, calling somebody a racist that truly deserves it, lose its power. The same goes for the word terrorist. You don't want to demean the importance of that word. Over 2,000 innocent people lost their lives that day in New York City. On the USS Cole, it was 800 some Marines killed by a terrorist attack. To me, so we're left to define what is a riot, a rioter, and what is a terrorist. Are they the same? I put forth to you that they're not. Both of them are not good. Protesters, protest all you want, but when something becomes physical for the potential of violence, in which a riot does, you and these rioters, when you go hand-to-hand combat with the police, you're a rioter. So these knuckleheads, in my mind and in my heart, were rioters. And particularly when you do combat, you're swinging at them, swing back, yeah, that's a rioter. But, so let's compare that with at least my definition of what a terrorist is. To me, a terrorist is someone who purposely wants to inflict pain and death to whom they are terrorizing. Meaning, you got to be armed. You have to have either gun, knives, bombs, cars, trucks. The guy in Waukesha, Wisconsin, in the truck that went down, in the car that went down and mowed down those poor folks at the Christmas celebration, that's a terrorist. Somebody who throws a Molotov cocktail at a cop and catches a cop on fire, that's a terrorist. Somebody who just shoots from the top of a building in Las Vegas down at some folks that are just, peacefully and innocently watching a country concert, and he just opens up on that, that's a terrorist. But to equate what happened January 6th, which, by the way, the only people armed there at that site of the insurrection, our national capital, were the police. The only one killed was a rioter, Ashley Babbitt. And to this day, there's a lot of skepticism and a lot of questions about this police officer who had a history of being very reckless with firearms, was the one who shot and killed her. He was cleared through an internal investigation. Excuse me. So we have to respect that. But the other false stuff that we were told, that Brian Sitnick was beaten to death by these rioters, they call them terrorists, beaten to death with a fire extinguisher. We found that to not be true. It was reported on every news outlet, pretty much, that this poor man was beaten to death by Trump supporters, by these terrorists, with a fire extinguisher. So, which didn't happen. He died of natural cause, I think, a day later, and we're so sorry that happened. And the others that died were folks that died from heart attacks and strokes. Most of them, I think all of them, were Trump supporters that died from the stress of the event. Tragic, you bet. But at the hands of a terrorist? No. So it's bad enough. Why do we have to exaggerate, blow up bigger, enhance lie about something that's really bad, which that was on January 6th. That was horrible. We don't want to repeat that. But you have to morph it into something that it wasn't, thinking that you can just make it somehow worse in the minds of the people because you have a political objective you're trying to reach. Which brings me to this January 6th commission. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you my opinion. I mean, hey, my show. I get to do that as long as I'm on the air. I'm going to give you my little 2 cents worth. Some people think my opinions are probably worth a penny, if that. But I'm going to give them to you of what I think January 6th was. And I've pretty much done that, what I think it was. But what this January 6th commission is all about. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. Please don't go away. We'll be right back. Folks, I want to, on Facebook, want to thank you for all the emails and all the support. And please, if you like the show, please let people know about it. Don't know how long I'm going to be able to do the show. We hope I got some other stuff going. God willing, I'm going to be here a long time because I'm just loving being with y'all. But like I said, if you enjoy it, please spread the word. And hey, I haven't given one of these away. I haven't given a phone number in a while. 899-1550, right, Jose? 899-1550, 559 area code. I got one of these little headshots here, usually around Christmas time, and I've got a list I got to get out. I sign a bunch and send them out to folks that have requested. Old Bubba Shot, a young Bubba Shot. I don't even know who that dude is anymore. But if you can call Jose at 559-899-1550, what will be the trivia question? We got to give you, let's see. Okay. What president said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall? It's in our promo. And I'll give you one hint. It wasn't Rutherford B. Hayes. It wasn't Dwight Eisenhower. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you do that and give Jose your name and address, I will. I'll sign something. Put something real nice on there to you and ship it off to you because I appreciate y'all. Go with these glasses, man. I got to get some glasses. My wife has about had it with these.
One minute.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat. Hey, I want to give the radio listeners a chance at this thing, too. I got these color Bubba pictures from back in the day. And like I said to the Facebook folks, I don't even recognize that dude. But every once in a while, I like to give one away and write a personalized note on it. And you have to answer a trivia question. That question is, what president said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall"? You do that, you know the answer to that. Call Jose at 559-899-1550. That's 559-899-1550. Give him the answer to that, and I'll give him your address. I'll put something nice on there and send it off to you. All right, January 6th Commission. First of all, to better understand what's going on, let's talk about what it isn't. January 6th Commission is not about a sincere attempt to come to the or uncover the reasons why this riot happened, or uncover some kind of widespread conspiracy between right-wing hate groups excuse me, to overthrow the government. That's clearly not the case. How do we know that? Because the FBI did a preliminary investigation. They got a lot more resources than Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. The Department of Justice did an investigation. They already had that stuff going. They have, like I said, way more resources to dig at the truth and find the truth than Liz Cheney. But she made a decision to form this commission because that wasn't enough. The commission could find out more. And we know we weren't, as American citizens, some of us may have been born at night, but not last night. We may have fell out of the truck, but we didn't land on our heads. We know what's going on here. We know the midterms are coming up. We know the Democrats are in a bad place. They have a leader there who we thought was going to govern from the middle, and he's governed from the far left. They know the situation at the border, the open border that's going on, this craziness there at the border. We've all seen the debacle that was the withdrawal from Afghanistan. We see the inflation every time we go to the store. We see these government mandates on COVID that are way, way, way over the line, and you could go on. We see gasoline going up over $5 a gallon in some places, while this president shuts down the Keystone Pipeline and relieves the sanctions on the Nord Stream pipeline on Russia. Almost call them USSR. Debated myself there. So they see his poll numbers, and they see the poll numbers of independents, which is down 30%. These are people that voted for Biden in the last election. So they're grasping at an issue that they can make some hay with come the midterms. And this is the issue. That is one reason. They want to politicize as much as possible the events of January 6th. And to most people, even the Democrats, they're not paying much attention to this. They're thinking about how they're going to put food on the table. That's not, having a grocery bill that's up 20, 30, 40% in some cases. They're preparing for when the stimulus money runs out and these interest rates start kicking back in. All this stuff that families are dealing with, the January 6th so-called insurrection is just not that important to them. So that's why they get frustrated when their plan doesn't work. So instead of just folding the tent, walking away, and going on to another legitimate issue to lay out a legitimate platform that the Democrats can run over to contrast against the Republicans, they're going to stay with this. That's one reason that we have this January 6th commission. The second comes down, as Mama used to say, pure D.O. hate. Liz Cheney absolutely hates Donald Trump. Now, a lot of you out there may dislike him. I disliked a lot of his behavior, but I had to separate policy from personality because the personality really doesn't affect us. It really doesn't. We prefer to have a president that was nice and cuddly and said the right things. But what they do, I don't want somebody who's nice and cuddly and pretty to look at and a good talker and supports policies that lets inflation run wild, to let the borders open up, to send interest rates through the roof, that doesn't support school choice, that you get what I'm getting at. It's about what you do, not really what you say. And so but Cheney, Liz Cheney, who reluctantly, I believe, went with Trump on a lot of these issues, because her defenders will say, look at Liz's record. She voted with Trump 90% of the time, and she did on some things that she thought was right, but always in an uneasy fashion, never be next to the president on anything. I'm not saying she should. Just support the policy. She was picking policy over personality. But she was looking the whole time for a way to get somebody else in there, get him out of there, get somebody with maybe some of the same policies, but get him and his, quote, attack on democracy out of office, his web of lies, of which Joe Biden just today, in his speech, accused Trump of spreading his web of lies. Not that the man has a lot of other things to be doing or should be doing, like how to reduce inflation, how to fix the border, and he's got a meeting coming up with Putin on an issue that could catapult this country into World War III. But he's got time on his table to get up there on January 6th, Insurrection Day, and call the former president, accuse him of spreading a web of lies. Even if it's true, even if those facts are true, you don't need to be getting in this. Go take care of the jobs that are killing America right now, of which you caused many of them. Go fix them. All right, we'll forgive you that you caused them if you go and institute policies that will fix them. You shouldn't be doing this on it. Anyway, and I think I speak for a lot of people on that. Just totally inappropriate for the president of the United States to even delve into this issue. But again, they have no other issue to get behind. But this other issue motivating Liz Cheney is President Trump's comments about her dad and the Bush administration way before he was president. Donald Trump, as a private citizen, was merciless in his attack on George W. Bush, called him the worst president ever, and then Obama took over, and George W. Bush, in President Trump's mind, was relegated to second place, that Barack Obama became the worst president ever, in Trump's opinion. But he went just savagely went after Cheney, her father. Now, we all know one thing you don't do with a tight-knit family is go out. When somebody comes after your family member, they come after you. Somebody comes viciously at my wife, my kids, my son, aunts, uncles. I'm going to be there defending them. And she, obviously, the daughter of the vice president, and a man, if you do a little research on Liz Cheney, who she absolutely adores. You see a lot of stories about dysfunction between kids and fathers and absentee fathers, and a lot of anger results from that dysfunction or that disconnect between a child and the father. In this case, there was absolutely zero disconnect. Liz Cheney absolutely adores her father. So this guy, Donald Trump, many years ago, started in, and when he became president, it was almost too much for Liz Cheney to handle. So at any chance she had to jump in and go after him, any little blood that was in the water that came from Trump, you knew she was going to seize on that moment. And that's what we have right now. We have the politicization of January 6th. It's not a terrorist attack, as Ted Cruz came out, of all people. Saw yesterday, Ted Cruz came out and used the T word, terrorist, to describe the knuckleheads, that rioters that went into the Capitol. And that really surprised me. He's taking a lot of heat on that. And again, I got to reiterate, don't get me wrong here, for goodness sake. I think what they did was horrible, but I'm not going to be one of these folks. And trust me, if the shoe was on the other foot, I know I say this a lot, I'm a registered independent. But if shoes were on the other foot, and it would have been Democrats doing that, and that happened at a Democratic rally, and the same events occurred. There was someone shot in there, that there was no arms confiscated, just a bunch of angry, woke, far-left folks attacking the Capitol. I would condemn it, but I wouldn't call it a terrorist attack. It just didn't qualify. So we're left with this all-day thing in remembrance of January 6th. And then one representative, I'm looking at him going, shaking my head going, you know, we don't have too many World War II veterans left. They're disappearing by the day. Not too long where we won't have any. But you think about how they must feel when they hear one of these young politicians, or not so young politicians, just politicians in general, get up there, grab the mic, and for America and the whole world to hear, have the audacity to quote Franklin Delano Roosevelt and say January 6th will live as a day of infamy. Quoting that day, that the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and the thousands of Americans that died defending our country and the world. And one of our most revered president's line that he owns. You don't, this guy who said this, go on the internet, you can find it. His name slips my mind. But the audacity to just say that, and not even say, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, this day will live in infamy. You didn't even give him credit for it. Maybe you don't even know who he is. But this, how far can you go? Don't insult the World War II generation. Don't insult one of the best presidents, most beloved presidents we've ever had, and trivialize that statement and apply it to a January 6th, when you had a bunch of old people like me going in the Capitol and taking selfies, you know, sending them back home to the kids, saying, look at where I'm at. I mean, that's what it mostly was. Idiotic, I call them knuckleheads, knotheads, male and female, going in there doing something stupid, not armed. And these people want to compare that to December 7th, 1941. Oh man, I'm going to quote Joe Biden as we leave and take another break. Come on, man. Stop that nonsense. The good news is, in just a few hours, yeah, take this Insurrection Day BS and shove it. We'll be done with it after day and on to January 7th, and that can't come sooner. This is Alan Autry, no retreat, and we'll be right back.
Hey, check your screen.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go to her.
30 seconds.
Righty.
There ain't no good in our goodbye.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat. Oh, I love this song, Frankie Valley. Man, I tell you, let's hang on to what we got, man. And inflation, taxes going up under Biden. Oh, my goodness. Please let us hang on to what we got. All right, we talked, wait, a little note here. Looking up the monitors at the CNN feed we have in here, we have both Fox and CNN. We are truly fair and balanced on the Alan Autry Show here at KXEX. CNN now is suddenly referring to the events of January 6th as a riot. I haven't seen the term terrorist attack here, and we've gone through 3 or 4 segments up there on CNN, so maybe they're listening to the show. Maybe we got a little juice with CNN, but it's hey, I'm going to tip my hat. Way to go. You know, you got some circles on the right. I get it from the left, and because I'm just a common sense guy. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and I'm going to call it out regardless of what party does it or what party doesn't do it, or what network does this or that. When they do something that I think is good and solid and I say good for the greater good of the country, I'm going to say that. And this is maybe a one step towards a little different network, because I heard there's a big investor at CNN, the big shareholders that doesn't like what's going on at CNN any more than we do, and he wants some changes. So maybe we'll get back to that CNN one day, God willing. That was during the first Desert Storm, where they were the go-to network, and all they got to do is just change their tactics. Just be honest, be truthful, stop being a political action committee for the woke far left. I mentioned earlier about Biden, what he should be doing instead of getting in front of a podium and spouting off about January 6th and Trump's big lies, trying to go backwards instead of forward. Quietly, as we speak, I think one of the most dangerous situations this country has faced in quite some time is brewing, is gathering steam, building day by day. And that's the situation with the Ukraine and Russia. Russia feels that Ukraine is theirs. Ukraine feels they're a sovereign nation. Not too long ago, Russia came in and took over Crimea, which borders Russia, also borders Ukraine. And Russia has said all along we believe that this country is historically part of Russia. And President Biden has sent a clarion warning to Putin in language that I've never heard it when he's pulling out of Afghanistan or any of the other areas of concern around the world when American interests are being challenged. Basically told Putin, if you do invade Ukraine, we're going to come at you with full force. Now, what does that mean? Is it just full force economic sanctions? Is it full force, God forbid, militarily? We don't know. But we do know this. President Putin released a statement 3 weeks ago that said this situation to him is as dire as the 1962 missile crisis, when our country and the Soviet Union at that time were a frog hair away from a nuclear war. That's no exaggeration. We talked to people, John McNamara talked about it. Kennedy was not going to back down. those ships coming to Cuba, Soviet ships coming to Cuba, which American intelligence said was carrying nuclear equipment, if they crossed a certain line, America was going to attack, blow them out of the water. Thank God, Khrushchev turned those ships around. All the missile sites were taken down, destroyed in Cuba, and everybody breathed a sigh of release. I was about 11 years old at the time, and I even knew what was at stake. We were all scared to death, and yet nobody seems to be paying attention to that. But someone who is Miss Laura Fisher from Florida. She's been doing a lot of research on this, and we have her on the line. Laura?
I'm going to make you...
Laura, you're there?
I'm here.
Why don't you share with the folks what you've uncovered in your research on this issue?
Okay, well, we're only going to get the movie trailer today because it's really a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But, okay, we'll go with a timeline, and, we'll start this, and we'll see how far we get. Okay. We're going to go back to 2013 real quick because that's when Hunter Biden formed a company. It's a hedge fund investment capital company called Rosemont Seneca Partners with two other people who aren't important to this. Okay, moving on to 2014. In 2014, the Obama administration implemented anti-corruption initiatives in Ukraine. And in doing so, Ukraine formed what they call the Anti-Corruption Court. And that would have special prosecutors who would investigate conspiracies, tax evasion, etc. Well, there was a requirement that the Obama administration was absolutely adamant about, and that was, number one, that Vice President Joe Biden would have full and complete authority over the special prosecutor's office. Okay? Second would be that there was to be complete oversight and unfettered access to all investigations by the United States Embassy, the U.S. Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, and an organization called the Anti-Corruption Action Center. Now, that particular organization is very important because that is an organization that was born out of a global organization called the Open Societies Foundation. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's owned by George Soros.
Yep.
So, so Soros completely finances the Anti-Corruption Action Center. And this particular organization was going to have full access to every investigation that was done by the Anti-Corruption Court and their special prosecutors. All right, same year, Hunter Biden is hired by a gas company to be on their board of directors called Burisma Holdings, despite the fact he has zero experience in that field whatsoever. Okay, well, we're going to fast forward to 2015, when there seemed to have been some concerns about Victor Shokin, the special prosecutor that Joe Biden fired. Now, Biden claimed when this came back up that he was so hard on Ukraine, he threatened to withhold a $1 billion loan that was approved by the IMF. He was acting supposedly under the direction of the IMF. If Victor Shokin wasn't removed, well, that immediately bothered me when I read the 2014 requirements, because it stated that he had complete authority to fire this man. Why would he have to withhold a $1 billion loan in order for this man to be fired? So that didn't make sense.
Well, did that mean that did the commission not want to fire this Victor guy? Is that
it didn't matter.
Why did
Joe Biden had exclusive authority to install or remove any special prosecutor he chose.
Why?
That was part of the deal.
What was his reasons for wanting to remove that prosecutor?
The reason was, I had to go digging. Apparently, the claim was, the IMF had received an extensive report from the Anti-Corruption Court stating that they had grave and serious concerns that Special Prosecutor Victor Shokin was in fact not doing his job, but was also engaged in corruption of his own, that he was engaging in blackmail and extortion of Ukrainian oligarchs and CEOs so that they wouldn't be investigated. Okay. Now, according to Ukrainian press, he did, in fact, submit a report with 9 companies and their subsidiaries. Now, one of the company's subsidiaries that was listed in this investigative report was none other than the subsidiaries, not the parent company itself, but the subsidiaries of Burisma Holdings. 9 days after that investigative report was submitted, the Anti-Corruption Action Center submitted a report to the International Monetary Fund, not the Anti-Corruption Court, raising concerns about Viktor Shokin. So then Biden supposedly withheld the loan and wanted Shokin gone. He removed Shokin. The $1 billion kept sticking out in my head, couldn't figure out where that came from or why. Until January 2016. January 2016, there was a meeting held between President Obama, Vice President Biden, former President Poroshenko, and 4 other Ukrainian officials. The Ukrainians were under the impression that this meeting was going to be about Shokin's replacement and about further anti-corruption initiatives. However, according to Ukrainian press, the president of Ukraine was extremely upset when he returned from that meeting because he claimed that the majority of the meeting was about payments to one Paul Manafort from the previous president of Ukraine, because Paul Manafort had done work for the previous president of Ukraine with his consulting firm. Okay, that's all listed. He had a FARA, he had everything. But they wanted these ledgers. In addition, it was made clear that Poroshenko would have no say in who the next prosecutor was going to be. That would be decided by the Anti-Corruption Action Center, and it would be finalized by Vice President Joseph R. Biden. And if these conditions were not met, along with a list of 9 individuals, I'm not even going to try to pronounce their names. I call them the alphabet people because they got 84 letters with no vowels. But these 9 people were not to be touched. Okay? None of this appeared in any American media. This was basically just a blip that this meeting happened, the end. However, if these conditions were not met, a $1 billion loan to Ukraine would be withheld. So now we know where the $1 billion loan came in. Now, if Biden actually was withholding that loan in order for Shokin to be fired, that loan would have been distributed in 2015. However, it was actually distributed in April of 2016. So that falls into line. Now, there's another little caveat with that. You mentioned turning point. Charlie Kirk apparently tweeted out that the Obama administration pressured Ukraine to dig up dirt on Trump. He gave no context. He gave no references as to where he had ascertained this information from. Okay? Now, here's the very interesting thing. All of the Beltway media, shall we call them, jumped on this 2016 meeting and said, oh, no, that's not true. They didn't say anything about Trump. And this was supposedly about Paul Manafort, but Paul Manafort wasn't a part of the Trump campaign until March of 2016. That's not true. Paul Manafort was not a paid member of the Trump campaign until March of 2016. He was in that lobby in June of 2015 when he announced his candidacy for presidency. So we all knew that Paul Manafort was embedded in that campaign. He just wasn't paid. He wasn't on the book.
Right.
He was a part of that campaign. They knew. When you look at Paul Manafort's charges, There's not a single one leading back to any of these payments, leading back to not registering as a foreign agent, none of that. All of that was his own machinations and using Donald. I don't even think Donald Trump knew what he was doing. He was going to banks and making them all kinds of crazy promises so he could get money because he was broke. Yeah. And I honestly don't. Donald Trump never saw a dime of that money. That was made clear.
The thing.
All right. So
go ahead. You got about 2 minutes.
Oh well.
Yeah, keep it up. We'll leave it. This will be part one. We'll do part two. Believe me. Trust me. We'll do part two.
We're gonna have like 8 parts to this.
I'm following this story like a bloodhound. I'm got my old Bubba Skinner hat on, man. I'm listening to these facts. I'm on to this story. This is like a movie. I want to get the rights to this thing. Go ahead.
Okay, so in conjunction with the alphabet people that I mentioned.
All right.
Okay. Have you read the Mueller report, first of all?
No, I have not read. I've excerpts from it, but I have not read the whole report. I know you have.
I have.
I know you.
except what they redacted. But I did find 3 lines that I held up to a light that I could read. Okay. Anyway, in that redacted report, there were extensive interviews with 3 computer analysts. And 2 of those 3 computer analysts detected pings on the Trump organization's servers. Okay, this is normal. Don't anybody think this is crazy. They were watching. This is how we knew the DNC got hacked. Whenever anybody's running for president, they have cybersecurity watching to make sure that nobody tries to infiltrate. So there was no metadata to substantiate that there was any communication whatsoever. Okay. Well, it was like 4 in a row in the middle of the night. 2 out of these 3 analysts said this was an attempted hack because this was done at the same time the DNC was hacked. One of the analysts said that he believed that because the Trump organization was connected to the campaign, they were running everything out of the organization, that they had a much more secure firewall, and that's why they couldn't hack it. Well, interestingly enough, 4 days after the meeting that happened with Obama, Biden, and Poroshenko, there were a series of pings that took place on the Trump organization server again. Again, no metadata. There was no connection.
Okay, leave it right there. Leave it right there on the pings. All right, that's a great place to pick it up from. Put your bookmarker there. I'm marking it down, the pings with Laura. And on Monday, we will pick this story up. You'll do like a short little recap, and we'll start with part 2 because we're running out of time. We only have about 35 seconds left, Laura. And boy, this is just fascinating. What jumps out at me is how bad they wanted that prosecutor gone. Was it because he was a bad corrupt prosecutor, or were they afraid he was going to have the courage to go after anybody and everybody? And that's what
I'll tell you on Monday because I got the answer.
All right, well, we'll be waiting to see it, to hear it, folks. Laura, thank you so much, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much. I'm just fascinated by that story because this lady does her research, and just wish she'd get some more sleep, though. We love her. God bless you. God bless America. Good Lord willing, Street don't rise. We have a chance to do it again tomorrow. Bye-bye now. All right, Facebook folks, great to see you. I got to hustle out, go just get my wife. We got a little lunch we're going to have together with my boy and my daughter. He's heading back to New York on Monday. Boy, going to miss him, but we're going to have a little family